Stick a move in the ring. You can hit me with the words you fling.
But it's good to have Chris back. And yes, today we are going to talk. I think there's only one place really to start, and that is Jon Jones having a little bit of beef with Dana White. Yeah, Chris, I'm sure you've read Jon's tweets. So I'll bring them up on screen here. But yeah, what do you make of this? Chris, Dana White told Brett Okamoto that Jon Jones was asking for, I quote, an absurd amount of money. Do you think it's absurd to ask for a pay increase? I don't know the official figure, but to go up to heavyweight and make your debut there against Francis Ngannou, no less.
I think it would be a very, very big draw, but I don't actually think Jon Jones has never ever proven himself to be a big draw like a Conor McGregor or a Ronda Rousey or even a Brock Lesnar style draw. So it's really, really hard to judge. The thing is, it's better when you have all the chips. But the thing is, right now, people wouldn't mind if Jon Jones didn't fight for a year because he's got no actual direct competitor. There's no real number one contender. So I think if he's asking for too much, and especially at this time, the UFC can use the whole coronavirus to pretty much say, hey, we aren't getting any attendance at the moment. So it really puts the onus on fighter pay. I mean, really, when this virus struck and they were flying people to Jacksonville, if there was ever a chance for fighters to unionize or go on strike, this was actually probably it, because I feel like they actually had a strong hand for a change. But with so many fighters willing to fight and fly across the country with the virus, it doesn't really help them. I'd like to see them make more money. I'd like to see all the fighters make more money. I think the UFC pays about 18% of its revenue to the fighters, which if you compare to the NFL and the NBA, I think it's close to about 50%. So obviously the UFC is very profitable, but the fighters aren't getting the pay. So it goes both ways. I think Francis seems very up to fight. What do you think, Nick?
Well, I don't know if you could see that there on the screen. I just brought up one of the tweets and one of the replies from Cyborg saying, "Know your worth, champ." That is something, isn't it? As you were alluding to, Jon Jones is the greatest of all time, or he's in the top three. He's in the conversation always. You can't talk about pound for pound number one or GOAT rankings without talking about Jon Jones. Dana White even said the same in that interview. He said, as much as that, Jon Jones is the best. And he said, imagine how good Jon Jones would be if he wasn't doing Jon Jones things his whole career, which is another point. But if you're going to give that accolade to someone, you got to pay him, I think. And I think Jon Jones is absolutely right to ask for more money. He's a big, big draw for UFC. He's probably third only behind Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov when it comes to pay-per-view buys.
Yeah.
He's consistently will go above 800,000, or he might even top 1 million for a big fight like a DC, especially the last fight he did with DC. I think it did over 1 million. I think Jones is right to ask for his money. Let's have a little look at what he's saying here. If you're not going to change my contract for the heavyweight move, at least have the decency to be honest with the fans. I was over the situation, but I'm not going to sit back and allow Dana to lie to the fans. I never asked for an absurd amount of money. That's BS. Absolute BS. Not going to repeat the swear words. And then he woke up again this morning. That was last night. Woke up, just had continued his run. So I'm not going to give up any hope. The way I'm taking this whole thing is the UFC don't want to budget the Jon Jones heavyweight move up right now. They should have just said that. Lying on me and saying I asked for too much. It's just unfair. That was unnecessary. And then he had a couple more. Yeah, you get the gist. Yeah. He seems to be saying, I'm not mad, but
I think it is a big fight. I wouldn't say it is a mega fight, but the thing is, he is kind of playing a very good hand right now because France just come off a win. They're both off wins, if you call Jon Jones a win, but it's fresh in the mind, and I think it would actually probably be the biggest fight of the year if it was made now. The biggest fight so far, actually. Probably not involve a Conor McGregor, but it would be the biggest fight.
Absolutely. I think a lot of fans are interested in it, and I'm surprised because I thought the UFC would be desperate for a fight of that caliber, especially, as you said, in this time when they're not doing live gates, so you need to bring in the pay-per-view buys.
Yep.
I couldn't think of many other fights they could make that would bring in more.
No, well, also, I think the thing is, I think really, if you're moving up as a champion, you should really be moving up to fight the champion. It's very rare you see a champion go up to fight a number one or a number two contender, as Francis is. He hasn't even got an interim belt. So that kind of plays into the UFC's hands there. And there is a bit of history of Jon Jones not really wanting that Stipe heat. I think he sees some flaw in Francis's game, and I think he thinks he can keep him away with the distance and leg kicks. I don't know. If he really wants the big money would be to fight Stipe for the belt, personally. I think the UFC would offer more for that, for a champion versus champion.
Well, yeah, I think Dana White alluded to that. I'll see what he said here in the article, which I wrote up for a CMP, of course.
My favorite journalist.
Of course. It's the one thing, if you come out and say, yeah, listen, I want a little more money. This is what Dana told Brett Okamoto of ESPN. The amount of money Jon Jones wanted doesn't make sense. First of all, you have in the light heavyweight division, the Dominic Reyes fight as the fight that makes sense. So is Jon Jones going to go and fight Francis Ngannou, then try to take a run at the heavyweight title? I don't believe that. He's never wanted to move to heavyweight before. For the amount of money he's asking for, it's not going to happen. You couldn't be asking for a more absurd amount of money at a worse time. So clearly, Dana White thinks it's a smokescreen or something. Jones just trying to get more money, doesn't really want to take heavyweight move seriously.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Dana White can go on about with the no attendance, but I think if you look at the Endeavor deal, I think it worked out to only about 12% of their money came from attendance, which is a sizable chunk. But I would assume every well-run business would be able to survive a 12% drop in revenue over a protracted amount of time, because that is just generally how business goes and how business cycles work. So maybe it's poor budgeting on their point, or they're working on a very, very small margin, which I don't think they are. I'd love to see the fight. I think it'd be a fantastic fight. It'd get everyone excited, everyone talking. I mean, out there, over all combat sports right now, it is Francis Ngannou and Deontay Wilder who are the biggest hitters that we've seen in any combat sport since Mike Tyson.